Anuki, Rayaytat, Nafartat, Sawawtat, Atum, Rayay. And I will be reading tonight's updates. Number 1. When the Anunnaki project in the genes, that is what you will see in a person. Project in the genes, that is what you will see in a person. They may say, I just want to dance and have no idea why. They may just want to dance. That has been programmed in their genes. For example, whenever you see till the soil, you find the word till under Hebrew strong number 5647. In the Bible, you see abd, which means to work, to serve. Genesis 2:5. And every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. The word means servants, yet this is in reference to clones. Now when we speak about the Garden of Eden and the woman and the serpent, well, the serpent was Nin-Gish-Zitah, and the woman was Eve. Nin-Gish-Zitah taught Eve the Kama Sutra, and also gave her 3 intoxicants. Today you have Viagra, Spanish fly. The fruit of the garden has been referred to as the apple, when actually it was not an apple. The Adamite women were drug addicts, as they were servants in this enclosed garden. The drug affected a part of the brain that caused them to hallucinate. Now look at Genesis 3:6. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took from its fruit and ate, and she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. The woman was told that this fruit was good for food, good to take in. This was a delight to the eyes. It was attractive and would make one wise, and that Eve would be wise as God was a drug. She was attracted by how it looked. Once Eve was intoxicated, she was taught the art of sex, intercourse as we know it today. Facing each other prior to that, sexual relations were no different than how animals reproduce. The first argument between Adam and his wife was who would be over who, or who would be on top, because one position gives more pleasure. The Garden of Eden was like Las Vegas in Arabia for these Anunnaki. This occurred before the Red Sea or the Reed Sea, Yam Suf. It did not exist then. In the center was called Beka Kushwan. Adam was created in Tuti and then moved over to the garden, and Eve, as the workers from South Africa, Zimbabwe, were already there, serving the gods. Nin-Gish-Zitah took an interest in Eve and took her to the cube, which was the Kaaba, and the stone that which she was allowed to read from, called the red stone, or the red meat stone, which was about sex. Nin-Gish-Zitah, referred to as the serpent, told Eve that if she drank from his fluids, she could prolong her life. Nin-Gish-Zitah translates as Lord of the Tree of Extended Life. Nin-Gish-Zitah told her to share this knowledge with her husband and children, and it would prolong their life. Now these Adamite were give 6,000 years to rule. During their rule, they were given Tardad, dominion, as it says in Genesis 1:26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So they were to rule over the seas, and they are poisoning the water and killing the sea life. They were to rule over the fowls of the air, and they have learned flight and war plans and bombers. They were to rule over the cattle, the beasts of the field, and the cattle have made cow disease because they are feeding them what they would not normally eat, going against natural nature. They were to rule the beasts of the field, which would have been the blacks, as Sedih, the outer field was Sudan, who was not under the control of the Anunnaki. They were to complete all of this within the 6,000-year period, and they failed. Now they are doing all type of things to get more time. We will bring the population down to 500 billion, and now look at all these diseases coming back to back. Another thing the Anunnaki were doing were creating many crossbreeds of animals, such as the Pegasus, or the winged horse, the Minotaur, which is a man with the head of a bull, the Centaur, upper body of a man and lower body of a horse, the Chimera, a monkey and a man, the Gripen, a creature with the head and wings of an eagle and the body of a lion. Now Enlil was against the creation of this primitive worker. Once they learned how to reproduce on their own and wanted them destroyed. They were noisy and they were multiplying all over. They were to be workers, and Enlil did not feel Anunnaki should be mixing their seed with them. He looked at the Adamite like monkeys and man today. Nigral, a son of Enki, and Ishragal, a granddaughter of Enlil, who were over the garden as scientists. Many extraterrestrial would come to this event, Nimul or Id as a Homo Syrian, as they produce Enki, also called Ea, meaning he whose abode is water, house of water, as he was part Homo Saurian as well from his mother and part humanoid from Anu. Alelu battled Anu and Nibiru and won. Alelu also took Anu, chief counselor or servant who worked with Enlil, who had become of age, and worked with this counselor to take the throne back from Anu. Once Anu was back in place, he cast out Alelu and his family and people, and the all came to earth. Africa had a lot of gold in Zimbabwe. Alelu moved to South America and took the gold and set up there. He was known as the serpent that came to earth, that is shown on the steps of the pyramid in South America. Alelu, knowing the gold needed for Nibiru, made contact with Ea, who also came down to earth first to scout of the natural resources and survey the land and raise the land up from beneath the water. Ea is mentioned in the Bible in the mistranslation of Ea Asher, Ea, I am that I am, as E Asha, E, I am who originates of the water. Alelu met Enki in Zimbabwe to get the gold, and 200,000 chariots of the gods came. Alelu made a deal to have his daughter of his blood, Damkina was her name, and later changed to Ninki, Lady of the Earth. Now this was before Enlil came to take over. So when Enlil finds out what, he tells Anu that Alelu has his own kingdom. The city of Pumapunku has scientists trying to figure out what happened. The city has large structures cut with precision that, although falling to fit together perfectly without any mortar, Alelu, having ships with technology, scanned the area for the building materials and built the city in one day. 1,000 years is one day to the Lord, and one day of 1,000 years. Psalms 94. He began creating people as well. 3D printers. Enlil asks for a force to wipe Alelu and his people out, and gets permission and destroys Alelu's city of Pumapunku, and he fled to Mars and set up there until he died. When Alelu left to Mars, the giant stone balls that you see in South America is what was used to destroy his city, as in the great balls of fire were kindled and hurled to the earth. There were other sites as well. There were actually two, at land in North and South America. When Alelu left, Enki took Ninki with him to Africa and started the process of cloning. Remember, the Anunnaki were working with the Mayans in Zimbabwe. and were beginning to complain about the hard work. By this time, Enlil was in place and was over the project to mine gold and sent it back to Nibiru. They were beginning to revolt and were saying, "We are not working, and we're about to kill Enlil," who was warned by his chief officer. So Enki came before the council of the Anunnaki, as it was mentioned in Psalms 82:1. God standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the gods. In this meeting, Enki tells them of making a being to work the mines, a Lulu Amilu, which translates like primitive worker. Enki said, "Mother Ninti knows about genetics, she mastered it. Let her make this primitive worker. Thus, let us make man in our image and likeness." So you had beings that ranged from size from 12 feet to 12 inches, some with 6 fingers or toes, some furry, so scaly, and whatever defects you can imagine in between. There was already a being in existence, Cro-Magnon, and his genes would need to be upgraded. The tree of life was actually a tree that was transplanted here to extend human life because originally they did not live past 100. They expired too quickly. So this started with 7 earth women who were cloned from Ninti, said, "Let's use my genes. Women are the gods and men were the protectors." The first successful man was Adapa, and Titi was the first female. With them was no more cloning, as they were the first to reproduce. They were also illuminated and had to be separated. Hagar did not like Abraham, yet had to go with him from Egypt when he left Egypt after the Pharaoh ordered him to leave, and all his house with him. Hagar was part of the Pharaoh's house and was sent as a gift for Sarah, for almost taking Sarah as a wife because Abraham lied and said she was his sister. As she was barren, she was offered her to Abraham. Here is a thought. Why don't you Christians ask Jews to explain the words of the Bible, being they speak Hebrew? Why don't Muslims ask them to explain Jesus, being he was a Jew? Did you notice in the Bible that whenever the angels came to see anyone in the Bible, people know them from a distance before they actually approach them? When Abraham looked, he saw 3 men approach, and he said they were Genesis 18:1-2. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself towards the ground. Or even when they were in the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, Genesis 19:1. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and lo, sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. So why was it during the time of Abraham, according to one of their Hidayah, when Muhammad was speaking to the angel Gabriel and his companions walked up and asked who he was speaking to, he said just a man named Gabriel? Then why didn't they know he was an angel? They obviously have a certain noticeable appearance. Umar ibn al-Khattab said, "One day when we were with God's messengers, a man with a very white clothing and very black hair came up to us. No mark of travel was visible on him, and none of us recognized him. Sitting down before the Prophet, leaning his knees against his and placing his hands on his thighs, he said, 'Tell me, Muhammad, about submission.' Then the man went away. After I had waited for a long time, the Prophet said to me, 'Do you know who the questioner was?' Omar, I replied, 'God and his messenger knows best.' He said, 'He was Gabriel. He came to teach you your religion.' This man was a man, not an angel, named Jibril, who was a Christian man dressed in white, who also taught his Christian wife Khadijah, who brought the religion to her husband Muhammad, as found in a Dictionary of Islam by Thomas Patrick Hughes on page 223, that speaks about Gabriel, found under Jabar. If you break down the word Gabriel in English, you see Gabar or Jabar in Arabic. In a dictionary, Islam is by Thomas Patrick Hughes. It speaks of a man named Jabar who taught Muhammad. In the Bible, everyone was sent to Africa in times of famine, like Abraham and the children of Israel, for safety during the time of Jesus. And it is the same still. The Black Madonna is the wife of Jesus, Mary of Magdala, an Ethiopian, not a prostitute, and his daughter by her name Sarah. This Jesus, Yeshua, passed in 114 AD at the age of 120 in Makmat, Egypt. Pakawan Pasaduk.